Hey guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today we're back with another recent reads, and I'm actually really excited to do this one because I have so many good books to talk about. Now granted, I only have one 5-star read, but I have a ton of 4-star books that I'm excited to share with you guys because a lot of them were way better than I thought they were going to be. Now, this would not be a recent reads if I did not have a couple of books that I just didn't care for and one DNF. So we are going to go ahead and get started. So just like always, we're going to go ahead and get started with my one DNF, and that would be The Lake Escape by Jamie Day. This is a adult mystery, maybe mystery thriller. I got this book from NetGalley and I was actually excited about it because I have seen a couple other books from this author that really piqued my interest. So when I saw this was available, of course I went ahead and requested it. So I kind of went into it with some high hopes and it severely let me down. So in this one, we're following these group of friends. These are grown adults. Every year they go to the lake with their families for like a couple of weeks just to have fun and vacation. So this particular summer that they're doing this, one of the women is one of the POVs we actually follow. Her name is Julia, and she's really upset because the guy, so it's Julia, another friend, and then their guy friend, I think his name is David. They all go with their families. And so this particular summer, Julia is there and she is just so upset because David has remodeled his house and now it's like this huge glass house that's like blocking her view. So she's like upset about that. Now the other POV that we have is from this nanny who's not really a nanny, but she lied to get the job with David because she has like ulterior motives for why she wants to be on this vacation with these families. So I got 50% of the way in before I decided to DNF this one. At some point, David's much younger girlfriend goes missing, and that's kind of like where the story takes off, but it took so long for that woman to even go missing. And then I was just kind of annoyed because at 50% of the way in, for a majority of the time, all we heard was how upset Julia was about this house that he built and how it is just disrupting her vacation and her peace, and she can't see the lake, and she was just so upset by that, and it was so annoying. Then 50% of the way in, we still don't even have a clue on why this nanny, not really nanny, has decided to go on this trip. The story was just moving so slowly for me. I was not interested. I mean, I did not care about any of these people we were following. I didn't even care when the lady went missing. I was just trying to hurry up and get to the point where she went missing because I thought the story was going to pick up, and it did not. Sadly, I had to DNF this one, and now I'm not so sure if I am in a rush to pick up anything else from this author. So moving on to my 2-star reads, I actually have 2 of them. So the first one is an audio copy that I got from Libro FM. This is The Making of Jackson Parrish by Liv Constantine. This is a prequel to Liv Constantine's series, The Last Mrs. Parrish and The Next Mrs. Parrish, which I really enjoyed that first book in that series. And so when I saw that this prequel was out there, I wanted to go ahead and listen to it. It's only 3 hours long, and I'm not sure if it's going to be released in anything other than the audio format, but that's how I was able to get my hands on it. So in this one, we're just following Jackson, who in the original series, he is the husband, the terrible husband that was in that series. And so basically we're following him when he's much younger. I think he just graduated from college. He was working for his father, and because of an incident, his father has to fire him, and in turn, both of his parents decide to kick Jackson out, and then he goes to like Greece and he starts working for this other guy, and he kind of gets wrapped up in some shady business with them, and that's basically the story. I gave this one 2 stars because I don't think it really did anything for me in terms of Jackson. It didn't give me any like really additional background to him because he was a jerk in the original series and he's a jerk in this. So I don't know what I was supposed to take away from this. Now, I will say there was one part in this audio that actually comes into play in the second book, which I think the second one was The Next Mrs. Parrish. But still, I don't think you really needed any background for that. I don't know. If you are somebody that actually really enjoys that series, then I would say try to check out this audio. It's really quick. Like I said, it's only 3 hours, but I don't think it really did anything or added any additional information for me for the series. So 2 stars. And the last 2-star read that I have is The Locked Ward by Sarah Pekkanen. This is another book that I got from NetGalley, and I was actually really excited for this one, just because of the premise alone. So in this one, it starts off with one of our main characters, Georgia, and Georgia has been charged with killing her younger sister, Annabelle. She was found standing over Annabelle's dead body, and she had blood on her clothes, and so she was arrested. Instead of taking her to jail, she was taken to a psychiatric hospital, and she is being held there until they start the trial. While she's there, she decides to have her lawyer reach out to this other main character that we're following, Amanda, aka Mandy, and that is when Mandy actually finds out that Georgia is her sister. So she is really caught off guard, she's surprised, and now she goes to this psychiatric ward to talk to Georgia to figure out, why are you reaching out to me and what is it that I can do to try to help you? And so the story kind of takes off from there, with Mandy learning about Georgia, wondering why all of a sudden Georgia reveals that they're actually sisters, and she's trying to figure out, is there a way for her to actually help Georgia get out of her situation? I thought this was extremely slow. I was way more interested in Georgia's POV when she was at the psych ward. I thought that was a really intriguing setting. I liked seeing how she was coping with being there and the patients that she encountered while she was there. And I did sort of kind of liked the unraveling of how she ended up there, but following Mandy's POV, it was just really slow. All she was doing was basically, like, obviously learning about Georgia, but I feel like she was so caught up in like Georgia's lifestyle because they grew up totally different. Georgia is from a really wealthy family, and Mandy is not. So she was so just like intrigued with Georgia's lifestyle, and there were like certain scenes where she was like putting on Georgia's clothes and trying to reach out to the people Georgia knew and try to act like her. Like, I didn't care about any of that. And then when we got to the end, and I'm pretty sure this big reveal that we got was supposed to be this huge surprise, it wasn't. Did I actually see it coming? Not necessarily, but it definitely wasn't, it didn't give that shock factor like maybe the author wanted it to give. So I was ultimately kind of let down by this one, which is sad because I've read a few of this author's books and none of them really blew me away, and I thought this one might have done that, and sadly it did not. So moving on to my 3-star reads, I only have one, and that is Silver Elite by Danny Francis. This is I think it's adult. It's adult romantasy, and this is the first book in this new romantasy series. So in this one, we're in this world where there are people that are primes. Those are normal people. And then you have people who are considered mods, aka modified, and they have special talents. And a lot of them have this thing where they have telepathy, like they can break into your mind and you guys can communicate that way. And then some of them have other rare gifts. So of course, in this world, the primes do not like the mods, and the general over this world, he wants to get rid of everybody that is considered modified. They are seen as a danger, they are seen as a threat. So our main character that we're following, her name is Ren, and of course she is modified. She does have the gift of telepathy, but she also has some of the rarer gifts. So in the beginning, she loses someone very close to her, and that leads her to go into this program where she's trying to get into the silver block, which are these really like elite people that go out on like special operations to help get rid of these modified people. While she's there, she has like all these interactions with the person that's over the silver block. His name is Cross Redden. And then of course, you know, at a certain point they get closer and like a romance ensues. So that's the story. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. So when this one came out, there was so many people that were hyping this up, but of course, the longer that it's been out, the less people seem to have enjoyed it. I thought it was fine. I feel like it is your typical standard romantasy. It has all of your standard romantasy tropes. If you're looking for something that is going to blow you away, that is going to shock you by the end, this ain't it. If you are looking for something that is different from everything else that you've read in terms of like romantasy reads, this ain't it. But I enjoyed it for what it was. I am a sucker for anything where people are being trained to do something. So that is one of the things that I really liked in here. I actually liked Ren and Cross's relationship. There were definitely some spicy scenes. I enjoyed that as well. Now, some of the reveals in here, you could have seen them a mile away. I called everything that happened, but I still enjoyed it. I thought that the last, I don't know, maybe like the last third of the book, there was a lot happening. There was a lot of action, so I really enjoyed that. But it still didn't blow me away while I was reading it. Do I want to read the next book in the series? Sure. It left off on a cliffhanger, and I'm curious to know where the story is going to go. Fun fact, maybe it's not a fun fact, but it was something I learned while I was reading this, is that people don't know who this author is. I guess on TikTok, people have a lot of suspicions of who they think this author is. I don't know. I know a lot of people have actually been talking about how terrible the writing is and how it sounds like or reads like something ChatGPT would have written. Okay. I don't think this writing is any worse than some of the other romantasies that I've read, but I enjoyed this for what it is. I would say if you are interested, sure, check it out. But if you are looking for something that is the next groundbreaking thing, this is not what that's going to be. So moving on to my 4-star reads. Again, I have quite a few of them. So the first one that we have here is another arc that I have received from NetGalley. That is Blood in the Water by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is actually a middle grade mystery. So Tiffany D. Jackson's books have been a hit or miss for me, but this one actually really worked. So in this, we're following our young main character. Her name is Kaylani, and she is really trying to get over her father being sent to prison. She is a really smart girl, and she has been doing everything that she can do to try and help her father. She like takes these classes that she finds at the library for like people who are interested in becoming lawyers. Like, she's doing a lot of stuff to try and help her dad. Her mother, on the other hand, does not want her to be so involved with that. She wants her to be a kid. So she actually sends Kaylani off to Martha's Vineyard, like a town within Martha's Vineyard, to stay with a friend of the family's. And so she goes out there. She doesn't want to be there. And when she gets there, she's not having a really good time. So the 2 girls that are there, their names are escaping me, but they're not very nice to Kaylani. And so she tries to make friends with some other people, which she eventually does. But on her first night there, they end up going to this party, all 3 of them. She meets this guy that is a friend of one of the girls, and his name is Chadwick. And so after the party the next day, everybody finds out that Chadwick is missing. No one can find him. And then like a day or 2 later, they actually find his dead body in the water. Now, the police are saying that it was a shark attack, but some other people have some other ideas. And so Kaylani and some of these friends that she made are trying to figure out what actually happened to Chadwick. I thought this was so fun. It reads really fast. I thought it was very age appropriate. These these kids actually felt like kids. The things that they were doing, some of their conversations, how wrapped up in like their phones and social media they were. I thought that this was perfect for people who are reading middle grade right now. And I really liked Kaylani. Like I said before, she is really smart. I really like that she was trying to do everything, not only to help her dad, but also to find Chadwick. And I also like that these girls that she was hanging out with, one of their names was London. I think London was the one that was closest to age in her. Like, this was not a nice girl. And I was happy that Kaylani like never backed down from her and she always stood up for herself. But this was cute. I liked it. Now the mystery was a little bit predictable, but that's because I read a lot of mysteries. I figured it out pretty quickly. But anybody who likes middle grade, if you know anybody that is like a younger reader, this would be perfect for them. My next 4-star read, we have Church Girl by Naima Simone. This is a adult romance, and I read this one for a book club. So in this one, we're following Aaliyah, and we start off with her on the day of her wedding, and she has ran from the altar. She has ran away from getting married to this guy, and she goes to her cousin and tells her cousin that, hey, I didn't want to marry this man. My parents are forcing me to. I need to get away. Now, a thing to know about Aaliyah is she comes from a very religious family. She is a very like sheltered girl. Her father is the pastor. Her mother is the first lady. So basically they had this life planned out for Aaliyah, and she didn't want any parts of that. So she ends up going back to Chicago with her cousin, and now Aaliyah is looking for work. She ends up coming across an ad to be a nanny for this tattoo artist named Vaughn. And their first encounter was not a pleasant one. He was extremely rude to her. He did not like the way like she dressed or like her attitude or anything like that. And so he kind of like wrote her off and told her that he wasn't going to hire her. Well, one day he ends up in a bind. The person that he did end up hiring ended up showing up late, or whatever the case may be. He fired them, and then he reached out to Aaliyah, and she begins working for him. Of course, over the course of time, they start to get closer to each other, and then a romance ensues. I really like this one. In the beginning, I did not think that I was gonna like it as much as I did, because I could not stand Vaughn as a character. He was so rude and mean, and I would not be able to work for somebody like that. But I could understand Aaliyah's situation, and she just needed to do what she needed to do. But he was an asshole for real. But he started to grow on me, because there is a lot of stuff that he's dealing with in his personal life, because he is the primary caretaker for his daughter, but his ex-wife, who he has the daughter with, she is not a very nice person, and you learn some stuff that happens within their relationship that really made me have like a soft spot for him. So I really liked him as a character. I liked Aaliyah as a character. I like how their romance progresses, and I just liked how the story concluded. So I'd never heard of this author before. I'm definitely looking forward to picking up more. There is going to be another book that comes out next year, I believe, where we follow the cousin. The cousin is actually really funny, and she is a exotic dancer. So I'm really excited to see where her story goes. Next up, we have Plus Size Player by Danielle Allen. This is the second book in the, I think if they call it the Curve series, but the first book is a book that came out last year, and that was Curvy Girl Summer. I actually read that at the beginning of the summertime, and I liked it. In that story, we were following Aaliyah. In this one, we are following Aaliyah's friend, Nina. And this story is actually taking place the same time that one was taking place. So this is Nina's story, and Nina is basically like a player. She is not really trying to be tied down. She doesn't see that in the future for her. She's dating quite a few people, and she has a person for everything. So she has the fun guy, the funny guy, the romantic guy, the smart guy. But she is actually interested in the guy that she deems the fun guy, and his name is Russ. And so even though she's dating these other people, Russ essentially is her favorite. So a thing to know about Nina is she's really into social media, specifically the fashion world. She ends up getting this really nice job where now she doesn't have to juggle social media so much. She can just focus on this one particular job where she is going to be working as a plus size model for this up and coming fashion house. But as the story progresses, you realize that becomes a conflict of interest in Nina and Russ's relationship, and the story just kind of takes off from there. I really enjoyed this one. I enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed Curvy Girl Summer. Now, when I was reading reviews for this on Goodreads, people have not seemed to enjoy this one as much as Curvy Girl Summer, and I completely understand. While I really like Nina as a character, I think she is fun. I think she is very funny. She's smart. And I actually liked Russ. I will say their relationship had to grow on me because their relationship felt so lustful. All they wanted to do was like have sex. There is a lot of sex in here. If that's not your thing, this one's not going to be your book. And it took a while for their relationship to gain any sort of substance. But once we started getting a little bit more substance between the two of them, I was really on board with their relationship. Another thing that I really kind of didn't like, which was also some complaints that I've seen from other people, was that it talked about Nina's job a lot. Now, I do like a nice outfit here and there, but I do not want to talk about somebody being a model in the fashion industry. That is something that I do not care about, and that is a huge part in this story. So if that is not something that you want to read about, I would say go into this with caution, but it does play a huge part in their romance. So I understand why we have to get so much background and we have to know so much about it, but I probably could have done without that. But despite all of that, I really enjoyed this one. And I think it's more so because I really enjoyed Nina as a character. So I found out that there is actually going to be, I'm gonna say, the third and final book in the series, because the first one was Aaliyah, this one is Nina, and they have another friend named Jasmine. And we are gonna be following Jasmine and her story in the next book. Now, I don't know how that's gonna go because I don't really feel like in both of these books we've really seen a lot of Jasmine. At least I don't remember her being like an essential friend in either of these books. So I'm curious to see how that's gonna go. But yeah, I enjoyed this. Next up, we have my girl, Sherry Lapina's She Didn't See It Coming. Y'all know I am a Sherry Lapina stan. I have a whole video reading all of her books except for this one, which is her newest one that came out this year. So I will have that video linked down below in case you guys need any sort of encouragement to pick up her books. So needless to say, I was really excited for this one, and for me, it did not disappoint. So this is another adult mystery thriller, and this is more of like a domestic thriller. So in this one, we start off and we're following Bryden. Bryden is married to Sam. And at the start of this, Sam is called at work and he is told that Bryden has not came and picked up their child from daycare. And so, of course, that's a little concerning because she is always there to pick up their child from daycare. So he goes, picks up the child, goes home, sees that all of her stuff is there, her car is there, her personal items are there. Where is Bryden? So after going around their condo trying to look for her, he decides to call the police, and the story takes off from there because they are trying to figure out what the hell happened to Bryden. I really enjoyed the characters. Just like with all of Sherry Lapina's books, you are going to follow a ton of characters. We follow like Bryden's parents, her sister, her friends, some other random people that could potentially be involved in her disappearance. I also liked that everybody kind of had a motive for wanting to get rid of her, which I thought was interesting because it constantly kept me guessing on who did it, like who made this woman disappear. And I also liked in the beginning when the cops started coming and they started questioning everybody, they really focused on the residents in their condo building. However, I really wish that would have played a bigger part because really in this book, we are following a lot of people that are from Bryden's personal life. But because a lot of this took place in the condo building, I wish the building and the residents in the building was more part of the story. So when the cops first started questioning people, it was like they asked a few questions, they moved on, and a lot of these residents we didn't even hear from anymore. And I wish that they would have played a bigger part. But outside of that, I really enjoyed this one. I'm not gonna say anything really blew me away, but I was entertained, just like I am with all of her stories, the entire time I was reading this one. And this is one that I would definitely recommend you pick up from Sherry Lapina. So then another 4-star read, we have A Rebel Witch by Kristen Cicerelli. This is the second book in the Crimson Moth duology. The first book I read last year, which is Heartless Hunter. This was the newest release this year. So if you are not familiar with Heartless Hunter, it is a adult romantasy, and in that one we're following Rune and Gideon. And in that world, it has witches. And witches aren't a good thing. There are people like Gideon who are parts of these groups that are trying to rid the world of witches. Rune, however, is a witch, and she is considered the Crimson Moth. And she actually goes around and she is trying to protect all the witches and get them away from harm. Gideon is after Rune because he is trying to figure out who the Crimson Moth is, and he suspects that it might be her. She is trying to get closer to him because there is a specific witch that she is trying to get free, and she knows that he has information on that witch. Now, they're both technically using each other. I think they realize that they're both using each other, but of course, they start to get closer and they learn that they actually like each other. So that's the first book. This one takes place a couple of months after the end of the first book. I'm not going to go into any of it, but we're still following our same characters, Rune and Gideon. And I actually think I probably liked this one a little bit more. I did give the first book in the duology 4 stars as well. But in this one, I actually liked Rune and Gideon's relationship even more. I feel like there was a lot more tension between them. And I actually liked Gideon more in this book because he wasn't so whiny. In the first book, he liked to remind everybody, but he didn't come for money. And he kept saying things like, oh, I don't think she would ever be interested in me because I don't have any money. I'm not from the same social status as she is. He kept reminding us that if you didn't know anything else when you left that book, you knew that that man did not have any money. In this one, he said it a couple of times, but he definitely wasn't worried about that because he had a lot of other stuff going on. So I really liked his character more. There was a lot of action in this one. The only reason why this one, even though I liked it more than Heartless Hunter, the only reason why I'm not giving this one 5 stars is because there was so much going on. I think the author rushed through a lot of stuff. We will be working our way up to certain things. We would finally get there and then we would rush past it. And I wish a lot of that stuff we would have taken our time with. This is a bit of a long book, but I wouldn't have minded being even longer if we could have sat with some of those scenes a little bit more. However, I really enjoyed this one. I do think that this would be a perfect duology series to pick up for the fall, especially if you are into witches and you want some romance in your stories. Highly recommend this duology. Next up, we have Local Woman Missing. This is a adult thriller, and this is by Mary Kubica. They have several books out, but this is my first book by this author, and let me tell you, I am excited to pick up more. So in this book, we learn that this woman, Shelby, has gone missing while she was out on a jog. A few days later, this woman, Meredith, and her young daughter, Delilah, goes missing. Then we jump to 11 years later, and Delilah has escaped from where she was being held, and now she has gone back home. And so basically the story is going from the past 11 years prior to the future 11 years now, and we are getting a lot of information specifically on Meredith and Delilah before they went missing. And that's really all that I'm going to say about that. But let me tell you, I had no clue where this story was going the entire time I was reading it. I thought the beginning of this was so intriguing. We get a lot about Delilah, I will say that. And I thought this had the best like opening chapter or the opening part. I think it started off with like part 1. I absolutely enjoyed that. When we got the reveal about what was going on, I had no clue. No clue. None whatsoever. It's almost like one of those books that you kind of want to read again to see if you can pick up on it, because I did not. And then once we figured out what was going on, I just had a fun time figuring out where it was going to go from there. Now, I am only rating this one 4 stars because there were parts of this that I thought were slightly slower. There was one POV in here that I didn't really care about. I can understand that it was like necessary to the story, but I feel like if you would have taken it out, I don't think much of the story would have changed. And even though I was shocked by what was going on, like after I got done reading it, it didn't like really linger with me, if that makes any sense. But it was really good while I was reading it, and I would definitely recommend this book. My last 4-star read, we have Too Old for This by Samantha Downing. This is a adult thriller, and this was a fun time. We're following Lottie. She's like this 70-year-old woman. She goes to church every Wednesday with these group of women to go play bingo, and she lives a very quiet life. But what you find out about Lottie is that she's a serial killer. To her credit, though, she's a retired serial killer. Until she gets this random knock on her door by this journalist by the name of Plum. Plum says that she's reaching out to her because she wants Lottie to be part of this docuseries that she is trying to put together. Now, the docuseries is supposed to feature people who have been accused of crimes, because back in the day, when Lottie was a serial killer, she was being questioned about some of these crimes, some of these murders, but the police could never prove it. Years later, now Plum wants to kind of feature her in this docuseries to highlight people who are wrongly accused. Now, Lottie is taken aback because she does not want to be brought up. She has left that behind her, and so she commits a murder. And then that murder turns into another murder, turns into another murder. And before you know it, Lottie is out of retirement. I really enjoyed Lottie as a character. She is hilarious. She obviously is not doing the right things, but you can't help but root for her. Now, because she's like 70 years old and because she thought she was retired, she's making a lot of mistakes. And some of those mistakes are causing her to then commit yet another murder. But not only are we watching Lottie as she's trying to cover up murder after murder, we're also following her as she is like dealing with like her day-to-day life. She is getting older. She lives in this house by herself, and she is trying to figure out whether or not she wants to move to a retirement home or keep her home, because she doesn't know how much longer she's going to be around. We're also following her as she's dealing with her son Archie, who is getting married yet again, and she's not really sure she likes his new girlfriend that he has, or a fiance I should say, who is much younger than him, when she actually likes the ex-wife. So that's a whole big thing. So there's a lot of other stuff going on besides just following Lottie and her trying to cover up these murders. So I really like this one. It's a book that does not take itself too seriously, which I have come to really enjoy from Samantha Downing. Now, I have only read one of her other books. It was called A Twisted Love Story. Now, that is also another book where you cannot take it seriously. It does not take itself seriously. And I really like how just fun these stories are. The chapters in here are super duper short. You will fly through this one. This is definitely a book that you can read in a sitting or two, but this was so good and so fun. So the last book that I have here, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because we all know Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. It is the third book in the Hunger Games original trilogy. And when I first read this, I actually gave it 4 stars. Now, when I was doing my reread, because as you guys know, I have been slowly rereading the trilogy because I am working my way up to reading the new release this year, I found that I did not remember a thing. You would have thought that I have never read this book before in my life because I did not remember anything. So it actually felt like I was reading this for the first time. And just like when I read it the other time, even though I don't remember much, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing the aftermath of what happened with the games, of where this world was potentially headed and where it actually went to. I really like Katniss as a character. My only small teensy weensy complaints about this book was that I wish we could have got a better conclusion for the Katniss, Gale, Peeta love triangle. I feel like it was kind of like glossed over because there was obviously so much other stuff going on. Don't get me wrong, I like that obviously we ended up with Katniss and Peeta, but I wish we just could have gotten more between Katniss and Gale and them wrapping up that situationship that they were in. So that is my only complaint, but outside of that, I really enjoyed this one. I did change my rating from a 4 to a 5, and I am currently reading A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And I can tell you right now, even though I've already read that book, I don't remember a thing. So again, it feels like I'm reading that one for the first time, but I really enjoyed this one, and this is a fantastic series that holds up even today. So that is all that I have for you guys today. Like I said, a lot of these I really enjoyed. If you have read any of these books, please let me know your thoughts down below. If I have convinced you to pick up any of these books, please let me know that too. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.